I'm so happy to be doing the South quick because this is for the NFC and the AFC. This is both divisions that I always forget what one of the teams are when I'm going through all the divisions. Like I can rattle off every other division, and then I get to the South, and I'm like, oh crap,
who is that again?
Oh yeah, the Tennessee Titans are a football team.
Right.
Dang it,
they do football stuff.
Did you watch that? The new Untold documentary yet about
McNair?
Yes.
No, I seen it on
McNair.
Netflix and I wanted to check it out, but
kind of disappointing in that it just kind of ends.
Really?
They like lay out like could have been this, could have been this.
That's what dude.
The end. I'm like, what? No.
That's why I can't watch those murder documentaries because like I'm that dude that like if you say, hey, I got to tell you something, and then you're like, I forgot. That's going to sit with me for the rest of the day.
It was only 58 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, and then Ashlyn had never seen the Aaron Hernandez documentary. So then we watched the Aaron Hernandez documentary.
They're making a show.
They are?
They're making FX is making an Aaron Hernandez like show.
Like, is it kind of like the O.J. Simpson one that they made? Because I
really
really loved that O.J. Simpson show.
It looks like it's got like tracking back to like high school into college into the NFL.
Did you watch the Aaron Hernandez documentary?
Mm-mm.
Really good. I mean, we watch a lot of true crime, but that's great because it's sports and true crime. So it's like I still get to watch sports.
Yeah.
Well, and Ashlyn like didn't realize the whole like I barely watch college football, so she didn't know about like that he played with Tebow on those Florida teams, and no, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was as fun as a documentary about someone that murdered like 3 dudes can be.
Right, dude.
But not ideal.
Yeah. I know.
CTE.
Did you see that stuff where that's like his wife is coming out and being like, you're making him look like such a bad person, and this dude was like, well, I think the murder did that. I don't know that documentaries are the things that's doing it.
Football players that were murdered or killed is not our topic today.
No, it is not.
So welcome to the house, episode 4.
Whoop, whoop.
Isaac and Bryan. Oh, if you need homeless and at-risk youth services, you should take it to my house, 300 North Willow Street, downtown Wasilla.
Take it to the house.
Take it to the house. Bryan, what's been going on in your sports world this week? Preseason just wrapped up.
Yeah, preseason just wrapped up.
How much of the Raiders did you watch? I watched like 1.5 Seahawks preseason games.
I barely watch preseason just because it like gives you this like false...
It tells you some stuff, but it doesn't really tell you.
And I think like
anything.
people make way too much like the Bears went undefeated. Okay, they got depth. That doesn't mean that's going to translate to...
I hate when the commentators are like, his first touchdown, his first win. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the preseason.
It's preseason. It doesn't count. He kept his ball, though. He kept his ball.
Yeah.
I mean...
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I've been just kind of doing a lot of like... I'm really into fantasy football, so I've been ramping up for that.
Season.
Did my first fantasy football draft. Going to do another one this week, and then I have one on Saturday.
I know, hoping to have the My House fantasy football draft this week for our other duties as assigned fantasy football league.
It'd be great.
Before we get into our topic, which is AFC, NFC South, Mariners had a pretty big development when they fired Scott Service, their head coach.
Woo!
So, yeah, I mean, when you in the modern era of baseball, have the record for the highest strikeout rate and the lowest team batting average.
Right.
And you, in the modern era, are the fastest team to blow a 10-game lead of the division and fall all the way back to 500, which they're now a game above 500 after a series win against the Giants. Like, he was, I think, the longest tenured coach in Major League Baseball of all present MLB coaches. So sometimes you just need a new voice. See what Dan does.
They slip away, is what it seems like.
Holy cow! Yeah,
like they just kind of fall apart in the last few innings.
Yeah, I mean, what happens is they refuse to get any runs.
Yeah,
the game that they lost this week,
they refuse to get any runs.
The game that they lost this week, they lost 4-3 to the Giants. They did win twice, so I'll give that to them. Yeah. But the game that they lost 4-3. 2 of those runs were walked around the bases in the second inning by Blake Snell. They had one run that came as a result of them hitting a baseball.
Yeah. I've seen the Giants highlights. It sounded like they smashed the Giants, didn't they?
It was close. They both, I think all 3 games were decided by a run.
Oh,
so it was the first game they were down 5-1. They had like 6 hits in a row. They got up 6-5, or they tied it and then won in extra innings actually. And then last night when we record this, they just won classic Mariners baseball game. They squeak out like 4 runs and only allow 3 because they have the best starting pitching in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
They don't even need, I was listening to Locked On Mariners the other day, and they're like, they don't even need mediocre hitting. They can have bad hitting and win the division, but their hitting is worse than bad. It's grotesque. It's atrocious. It's historically awful. And I'm like,
oh man.
Man, this baseball team, just new and exciting ways to break your heart and ruin your spirit. So the South divisions, my take is that when I'm going through all the divisions, this is both AFC and NFC is always the division that I forget a team that's in there. I could never name all 4 teams, so I have them pulled up so I don't miss anyone.
And the NFC South it was historically bad last year. Probably going to be bad this year. You want to start there?
Yeah,
let's start there. I don't know. So let's start with Atlanta, because there's a lot of questions in Atlanta. You got
ton of questions.
Kirk Cousins coming in, right? Off of Achilles.
Right.
You got a new coach who says that he wants to use Bijan Robinson as he's supposed to be used, because dude didn't use him last year.
Well, he can't be worse than Arthur Smith.
Right.
Like,
I remember, dude, I got so mad. It was like week before championship game or something. And they were like, yeah, Bijan is sick. And then they like put him in, but they like didn't inactivate him. And they put him in for 1 play.
Oh my gosh.
And then benched him for the rest of the game. Like, make him inactive. It's ridiculous, dude. But
there's just so many question marks up and down this division.
Right. But I have a lot of faith in Kirk Cousins. And like Atlanta have the skill players around that offense, and they've tooled that defense a little bit. And I think in their division, because their division is the way that it is, that it's gonna be a lot easier for a Kirk Cousins to come in and have some success.
Yeah, I think when we were looking at the West and the North, it's like, okay, well, we have like 2.5 teams to 3 teams in each division that we could realistically see making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I feel like the South is not going to rise again. The South is going to have, I think, exactly one team come out of this.
A 9-win team is going to win the division. I think that's what it was last year. So let's see. Tampa Bay.
Tampa made it last year, and they might have been a 10-win team, or you might be right. They might have been 9. It was an awful division last year. I don't think that it's going to be as bad as it was last year, right? Because it simply can't be.
Yeah.
I like Kirk Cousins. I feel like he has
2023 9-8.
9-8.
Yeah, that won the division.
Brother, ew, that's disgusting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a really bad division.
The Bucks got at least 10 there at the end, but
it's like a really bad division.
Gosh,
for sure.
So, I think Kirk Cousins has a few more. It feels like he has a few more years left in the tank. This division's going to come down to the Falcons or the Bucks.
Does Atlanta believe in that?
Yeah.
And then it just makes me mad because they drafted Michael Penix, and I get their thought process on that. But Michael Penix he's what, 26? He's an old, because he took an extra year of college eligibility due to COVID.
Right.
And so he's like a super senior. And so what? You're talking about him starting his first game when he's 28?
I hate to just like pick every team that was in the playoffs last year. I guess I haven't, because I said the Browns weren't going to make it because I forgot they made it last time. But I feel like the Bucks have a better chance in this division just because there's that whole draft day situation could cause some locker room issues. And the Falcons, it feels like need.
And Michael Penix looks like he could be the dude.
He could. I like Michael Penix. He's going to have to stay healthy because he's struggled with that his entire college career.
And that might be a good part of him not starting this year.
Yeah, 100%. I think
year.
leave him in the oven a little bit. Falcons. Falcons are a tough team.
Yeah.
The Panthers are not a tough team. I think they're going to be bad again.
I don't know. So I look at the Panthers, and everybody's like, yeah, dude, the Bears just fleeced the Panthers, and they got,
I mean, they did.
I mean, you could say that, but I think like look at what Bryce Young like inherited. He did not have his number one wide receiver was Adam Thielen.
No, it's not the Panther. It's not Bryce Young's fault that the Panthers have
a lot of people,
nobody playing football for them.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could put Tom Brady in his prime in the middle of the Panthers organization. I don't know if they'd be above 500.
Yeah, and so I mean, Bryce Young only had 2,800 yards last year. Their running back, their number one running back, had under 1,000 yards at 902. And their top receiver had 1,014 yards. And so,
I mean, you look around at all the bad teams that we expect to take a step, and I just don't like the Panthers could be a bottom 3 team in the league again.
Yeah,
they could get better.
I mean,
by a little bit
and get their pick this year, I
guess. I mean, you can't tank when you don't have your first round draft pick,
right?
I mean that.
But I think
we're going to be watching like YouTube sports documentaries 10 years from now, and it's going to be about the what if the Panthers had gotten Caleb Williams this year.
Their coach is like a QB guru, offensive-minded coach that could do very well for Bryce Young. And I think the problem with Bryce Young is his mentality. Like it looked like, and I watched a few games because they had like a stupid like Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football game that nobody wanted to see, and it was just a garbage game, but. He just looks defeated before he even gets on the field.
He plays for the Panthers.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I'm wondering if the new coach can like vamp him up. They did trade for Deontay Johnson this year to give him a true wide receiver one, and I do believe in Deontay Johnson. I know a lot of people don't, but I think he can be really good, sneaky good, and so I think that they could take a step up. But I see them as like a 6-win team.
Yeah, 100%, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
The Saints, I see as the definition of mid.
I don't know. So this is probably a fan take because
you love the Saints.
I love Derek Carr.
I like, and
I've been a Derek Carr fan for a long time, obviously.
And
what I've seen from Derek Carr, like religiously, is that dude is not your just like God-given talent. I'm a top 5 QB. What he is he's a preparation and training kind of guy, right? And so what we've seen historically from Derek Carr is like he comes in first year in the system, he has some flashes of some good games. What he did last year, he had some flashes of like, okay, he's picking it up, and then the next week he'd face a tough defense and look like he was lost out there. But then what you would see it happen with Gruden, right? Like he took this offense and struggled so bad the first year, and then the very next year. Took that team to the playoffs in the same offense. So I think you give him the same offense, the same tools, and you're going to have Alvin Kamara from the jump this year. I think that the Saints are going to steal the thunder from the Bucs because I don't see the Bucs getting any better. I mean, Carr threw for 3,800 yards in a bad season, right? And if he's more comfortable in this system, I don't think that there's any reason why, unless that Spencer Rattler creeps up on him.
Well, because these teams are all such a jumble. Yeah. I'm going to talk about the Bucs now because so I would have the Bucs taking the division again. And it's because I believe in Baker Mayfield,
which is a hot take.
I mean, I think look at what he did in Cleveland when the Browns weren't actively ruining his career by playing him with no throwing shoulder.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he was able to get the team to the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
They won a playoff game, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. But the thing is you're
who did
asking,
they beat?
So like
I remember they won. Who the hell did they beat?
I don't know. I just remember them losing to the Lions.
Well, they should have lost to the Lions.
Yeah. But you're asking Baker Mayfield. So in order for them to get a 9-win in the playoffs, which is not even asking a whole lot to get into the playoffs and win your division, Baker Mayfield threw 64% for 4,044 yards and 28 touchdowns on 10 interceptions, and he was sacked 40 times. I haven't seen the big improvement on that offensive line. Mike Evans is older. He went off for 1,200 yards last year. he's 65 catches away from tying Tony Gonzalez for a streak of 11 seasons straight. So he's amped up, but I just don't. I mean, I feel like that. I feel like a lot of teams, like when they went and then played the Bucks last year, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're playing the Bucks, whatever," and kind of downplayed them.
Yeah, and
then they shocked them. And I don't think they're gonna shock people this year. And I could see Baker struggling a little bit more. I mean, I think that's a damn near all pro season that Baker had last year. And so
I figured out who the Bucks beat last year.
Who?
It was the Eagles. Do you remember that game?
Oh yeah.
I was like, I remember that they won because it was so crazy. They beat the Eagles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the Eagles just like fell apart the second half of the season.
That was such a funny game.
Yeah.
Because my buddy's an Eagles fan. Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. So I have you have three teams that I think could conceivably have a path to take the division. It's probably a toss-up between the Saints and the Bucks.
Yeah, and Atlanta lost a lot of like one-score games. And I think with Kirk Cousins, because they did that with with, what is it, Desmond Ridder? And I mean, Kirk Cousins, say what you want about Kirk Cousins, that's a massive upgrade.
I don't want to pick the Falcons because I feel like, okay, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. Like the Falcons have just choked over and over and over again, and I don't want to fall for it again this year. Okay, I'm gonna rank them quick. I'm gonna go Bucks, Saints, Falcons, Panthers. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, I'm gonna go Saints, Falcons, Bucks, Panthers.
You have Bucks in third.
I have Bucks in third. I think that Atlanta is gonna take a step up. I don't think they have enough to take that leap. I think the Saints, if Carr can just take care of the ball and get it to his skill players, there's no reason that they cannot win this division.
Yeah.
And they have out of these four teams, the New Orleans Saints have the best team.
I think
defensively, offensively, across the board.
The most wins anyone comes out of this division with is 10.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's going to be one team.
Yeah.
I will say that right now.
Yeah.
Put my flag in the ground. One team's coming out of this division.
1,000% agree.
Okay, AFC South.
I love this division.
A little more interesting because
you had worst to first last year.
Yeah.
And a rookie that like just was ridiculous.
Okay.
And you know
start with the Texans.
Dude, the Raiders had this is just more Josh McDaniels hate. The GM Dave Ziegler reportedly this came out that he had a trade with the Texans to get to number 2 to take CJ Stroud. And that Josh McDaniels was like, no, it's Bryce Young or nobody. And we see how that is going.
Whoops.
Yeah. And that's just, I mean, Josh McDaniels is awful. He's like, I could take a high school quarterback and make him an all-pro. And I'm like, dude, you're just way too full of yourself. You were on the Patriots for too long. But anyways.
Texans, it feels good. Texans are a fun team to root for. They're kind of like my new Browns because they got rid of Deshaun Watson, who has crazy NFL quarterback villain arc and I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
And they have one of the most exciting, probably the most exciting rookie in the league last year that leads them to a playoff win. And it kind of seems like they're primed to be a serious contender this year in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, they were right in that game with the Ravens. And the thing for me that's going to be interesting to see is if Stephon Diggs creates a toxic locker room. Because Stephon Diggs is a prima donna and
wide receiver.
There's already like videos, and I think Stephon Diggs gets like taken out of context a lot. And there's like this video like circling through of him like having a very passionate discussion in a preseason game with CJ Stroud on the sideline. But all of that noise is going to start coming in, and then like it's going to get in players' mind like, yeah, maybe they're right. Maybe he is kind of an animal.
Why? What is it about the wide receiver position that just makes people like peacock?
I don't know, man. Probably because they do all the work and get half of the praise. You know what I mean? Like they're like track stars.
Yeah.
That run out there route after route after route, get the ball maybe targeted to them 9 to 10 times,
That's why you need yourself a Tyler Lockett.
And like you see, like
down
just
to earth,
talking
Tyler
about,
Lockett is the most well-adjusted wide receiver I've ever seen.
Such a fan take, dude.
Just
such a fan take.
Smiling, doing the commercials, waving, doing his job.
Anyways,
I'm not saying he's the best wide receiver of all time. I'm just saying he seems like a good guy as opposed to the majority of wide receivers that act like Antonio Brown.
I mean, Antonio Brown is his own thing, you know. But you see what like not having receivers did, like we just talked about the Panthers, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how CJ adjusts to, because CJ is very much he's not one of those guys that like force feeds anybody, right? Like
he's going to make smart decisions with the ball, but you have to give him the opportunity to make those decisions.
Yeah, he only threw 5 picks last year. As a rookie, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like on 499 attempts.
He's set himself on a like Hall of Fame trajectory after one season. Yeah. Now, you know, who's to say he doesn't have a crazy sophomore slump?
Right.
It's not, you know, he's still got something to prove. It would be surprising. I mean, he is my starting quarterback for my friend's fantasy football league.
I don't love him in fantasy football. And here's why. He threw for 4,108 yards on 23 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of touchdowns, especially if you're in a 4-point touchdown pass league. Like, in order for him to have a competitive season comparatively to, let's say, a Jalen Hurts, who's going to get the tush push at the 1-yard line.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who's going to get a 6-point play right there on top of his yards. Like, in order for him, he has to be like Joe Burrow. In order for him to have it be successful and relevant in fantasy, he has to be like hitting these touchdowns. And I mean, there's no reason that he can't. But
I mean, I did pick quarterback a little bit late.
Yeah. I just don't like how high he's going. I don't think he's a bad fantasy pickup, but I just like people are taking him as high as like the 4th round.
No.
Is insane.
I think he was my 6th round pick.
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
And then my other quarterback's Jordan Love. So I feel like that's a good tandem for me.
Yeah,
anyway, Texans I think good pick to win the division. The Colts are an interesting team because I think they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot potentially.
I don't think they are.
I'm not saying they're going to steal one.
Week 1 is against the Texans. Then they go to the Packers, and then they're playing the Bears, and that's a tough month. And then they go to the Steelers, or the Steelers come to them, which is not terrible.
You don't think they can steal one of those first 3 games though? And they stole some games last year.
If they were going to steal one, they would steal the Bears. I think they start out 0-2. I think they could easily beat the Bears, but I like what I've seen from Caleb Williams, and they have a good defense, and Anthony Richardson has shown to be inaccurate with the ball. In the times that he's throwing, like his athleticism saved him a lot and has made him touted to be this like top 10 QB.
Yeah,
but I'm not seeing it.
I don't know. I think they're like an 8-win team. I just think they're like scrappy.
Yeah.
Right. Like they'll be in the hunt. They won't be irrelevant.
Yeah. And then they got to play the Dolphins this year. They got to play the Bills this year, which the Bills might take a step back.
Sucky schedule.
The Jets, the Lions.
That's a sucky schedule.
Yeah. I mean, they got some tough teams to beat. They got some layups too.
Do you have them bottom of the division?
I don't have them bottom of the division.
Because the Titans are bottom of the division, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Will Levis ain't.
I think both South divisions have a very easy. This is my 4 team, and it's the Titans and the Panthers.
Yeah, and I think what everybody's banking on with the Colts is that they went, 1 game away from a playoff spot, 9 wins with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, and like that's all I'm saying. Like I don't think they necessarily are going to take a massive step or anything, but it just feels like they're going to be hovering around. They're not going to be an easy win per se.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do we need to spend any more times on the Titans other than saying like the Colts will be better than the Titans?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Titans, they're going to be bad. They're going to be really bad.
It's a rebuilding year for them.
For sure. Will Levis, I mean, I don't know. I don't understand the hype of Will Levis. He had that like comeback game. And then from then on, everybody's like, I think he's got it. And I don't know. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, that is a bottom feeder.
Yeah. You got an unproven wide receiver 1 in Calvin Ridley. DeAndre Hopkins is out. And then you don't have like an established. They have Tajay Spears and Pollard for their running back, and the coach came out and was like, listed them both as RB1. He's like, I see them both as a starter. So that brings into question: are you having a hard time managing the team?
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, and
You gotta like.
I don't know why they fired Vrabel. Like,
Yeah,
I guess they wanted to go in a different direction and get away from like hard, gritty defense.
That direction is going to be the bottom of the league.
Yeah, and they let Derrick Henry go.
Yeah, but like, thank goodness, because I did not want to see him waste away on the Titans any longer.
Yeah,
he was not going to. He was not winning even a playoff game with the Titans probably in his career. Yeah. How many running backs do not stick around that long? He needs to go somewhere where he can actually be on a contender. Yeah. So I'm happy that he's not on the Titans. The Jags could be a playoff team, but the Jags
should have been a playoff team last year.
Yeah, the Jags also do this thing where they look good and it's like, hey, the Jags have finally figured it out, and then they just like crash. Like so. Who knows? I
mean, they play
the Jags should be a playoff team.
They play the Dolphins week 1, the Browns week 2, and then the Bills and the Texans.
So
that is
smells like 1-3 to me.
That is a tough start. They could easily sneak a win over the Bills and the Browns.
If they're 2-2 through the first 4 weeks, I think they can get a playoff spot.
Yeah.
It feels like they should have a playoff spot if they can find a way to go 2-2. And the team and Trevor Lawrence should be good enough to go 2-2. But they're a frustrating. I mean, thank goodness I'm not a Jags fan too, because that is a frustrating team to have to watch.
Frustrating. And it's just like you have Trevor Lawrence, who you just paid a big bag to. You've paid him as if he's the guy.
But I haven't be the guy.
I haven't seen anything that shows he's the guy. If you look at Trevor Lawrence's stats throughout the last how long has he been in the season? This is his 3rd year or 4th year. Has to be 4th.
He was drafted 2021.
Yeah.
So he's going into year 4.
Right.
They were awful in the first year.
Over the last 4 years, he has very similar stats to a QB, and you're not going to guess who it is.
Well, I have to assume that it's someone that's like mediocre bad. If
it's Gardner Minshew. Like Gardner, like they're like neck and neck.
Oof.
And they let Gardner Minshew go and are like, Trevor Lawrence is the guy. And so I think they have a tough schedule. I don't super believe in Trevor Lawrence. He's shown flashes of greatness, but I mean, he only threw 21 touchdowns last year. And like as an all-pro quarterback, like that's not going to get it done. That's not going to win your division.
Yeah, but like I'm looking at their schedule now.
Yeah.
In the last 5 games, you get the Titans twice.
Right.
The Colts, the Jets, who, should, but, I don't know.
Yeah.
That can be a win.
Yeah.
And the Raiders. That's like.
And then the Titans and the Colts.
They have a tough stretch of the schedule, and they definitely, it sucks that one of the teams you have to play out of the NFC is the Eagles. It sucks that you're going to have to play the Bears, who probably are going to be a tough game. Yeah. You have to play the Texans twice.
Because the Bears, even if they lose that game, they're gonna hang tough.
Right. You have to play the Texans twice because they're in your division. Another NFC team that you're playing is the Lions. That sucks.
Yeah.
But then you look at their pathway in the last 5 weeks, and I think they're going to be in contention for a playoff spot. And you have the Titans, Jets, Raiders, Titans, Colts.
Yeah.
But
if they can win down the stretch, they can squeak maybe.
But also this is where the Jags historically just lose games that they're not supposed to, is in the last 5 games of the season. Yeah. So it feels like they're set up again to be successful. Yeah. We'll see. Let's rank them. Let's finish off this division. Who you got?
I think it goes through Houston, obviously.
Yep.
I'm gonna take the Jags at 2. I think they're gonna be 1 game under a playoff spot, and then the Colts. I think Anthony Richardson's gonna go down in week 8, and they're going to be lost. And then the
Titans.
Titans.
It's an
at
easy
5
division to
wins.
rank, I think,
Yeah.
because I've got Texans, Jags, Colts, Titans.
Yeah.
It's and let me look at the rest of the AFC really quick. It feels like
Well, like I said too, in the AFC is hard because
there's going to be 2 teams coming out of this division.
no, because you got
100%. 2 teams coming out of it. Texans, Jags should be the 2 teams coming out. Because you look at the AFC West, we have 1 team coming out of there. We've got 2 teams coming out of the AFC North, and I think 2 teams out of the East.
no. You got potential 3 teams out of the East. You got a potential
East is the one division where I'm like, okay,
You gotta-
3 teams can take this.
You got a potential minimum of 2 teams out of the North with the potential of a third.
I cannot stand the thought of the Browns making the playoffs.
I mean, it could they have the defense to do it is the problem,
I know.
right? And then you have, the Chiefs, which is it's gonna be 1 team out of the West.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's why the West
there's-
having 1 team is why I think the South can have 2. The AFC South can have 2.
yeah, I just don't. I believe like the Browns or the Steelers will squeak into the playoffs before the Jaguars will.
You're taking the Steelers before the Jags?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Interesting.
I believe in Tomlin more than I believe in Trevor Lawrence.
We shall see.
We shall see.
Next week, the last predictions, and it'll come out right before Thursday Night Football
Yes,
to start
sir.
football season.
It's back.
Actual football season, not the
so
preseason.
happy.
Not me just watching football because I can't stand to watch the Mariners. So I'm watching preseason NFL football. This is what the Seattle Mariners are doing to me. They're forcing me to watch preseason NFL football.
That
It's
says
disgusting.
everything you need to know.
It's absolutely disgusting. It's been To the House.
To the house.
See you next time. Sports, even when we're rooting against each other, unite us all. Something. Together. Watch our fantasy football draft.
Yeah,
Live stream.
coming this week.
Coming this week.
I'm gonna beat
We'll
everybody.
announce what day it is.
Yeah.
When we know.